This video of this channel is sponsored by the XX Network, so I have a bias towards the XX Network. I am not a financial advisor. All investments have risk. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows.
Interesting how the WGS, Ian, set up the conversation with the cryptocurrencies, because I have this kind of philosophy, and I think you share it, that there's a bigger game at hand here, because cryptocurrencies offer a threat to the major currencies of the world. You see them trying to regulate this, the central banks that Alex was talking about. But the dollar right now is based on gold, and it's based on oil. And is that part of the Cold War, would you say? Is it a fair description to say that we should watch for the next 5 years how oil's priced and whether other assets like strategic minerals take such dominance in the energy transition, for example, and what are they priced at?
There's a bigger game at hand because cryptocurrencies are a threat to the major currencies of the globe.
That there's a bigger game at hand here because cryptocurrencies offer a threat to the major currencies of the world.
Why? Why is he talking about cryptocurrencies in the context of a Cold War? At the World Government Summit, he's talking about crypto assets.
A description to say that we should watch for the next 5 years how oil's priced and whether other assets like strategic minerals take such dominance in the energy transition, for example, and what are they priced at?
In the next 5 years, what will oil be priced in? The interviewer is alluding to the fact that energy could be priced in crypto assets or digital currencies. Now that may not seem important, but that's why the dollar is the reserve currency, the petrodollar system. It's been the status quo since the 1970s. Henry Kissinger cut a deal with the Saudis where they would price all oil in dollars. In return, we would protect them and sell them arms. They need to reinvest those dollars into U.S. markets, including U.S. treasuries. That's how our quality of life is sustained.
I think when you enter a Cold War, everything becomes part of the game. And certainly cryptocurrency will become, the dollar will be, one of the codependencies between the US and China is, of course, that China holds $3 trillion of US reserves. Without China, the US would be in a real mess. And on the reserve front, and as the US ramps up its debt to try and sustain the consumption, it's China that's supporting that. So how that unwinds and the relationship between it and how China is able to diversify its reserves is absolutely central. And central to that is not only whether it's able to establish a bigger block in its own currency, but also, of course, what happens with central bank digital currencies.
China is the second largest shareholder of U.S. debt. If they were to sell this debt, that would have catastrophic consequences. It's likely the entire system would break down. In a Cold War, trade and economic warfare is common. Last year, Biden sanctioned China's ability to purchase advanced chips. Advanced chips are growth. In order for China to progress, they need advanced chips. Digital currencies and crypto assets bypasses the USA's control. Digital currencies are likely to become a grounds for an economic race. China is lending smaller countries money to be paid back in digital yuan throughout the Belt and Road Initiative. Whoever has the largest network will win this race. China's had a head start, and the USA is still kicking the tires on a Fed coin. However, the USA has never had a top-down approach with other technologies. Instead, they allow the private sector freedom to innovate. The private sector meaning the Ripple, the Circles, the crypto companies. Let them flourish, build the best network in a USA-based digital currency stablecoin crypto ecosystem. Freedom perseveres.
I would have put a bet on actually the US asking you folks to do a proof of concept for a CBDC. Did you, or would you?
Well, we have a very...
The interviewer asked Brooks Entwistle if he has a proof of concept with the United States. Now, Brooks doesn't exactly say no. He kind of brushes off the question and starts talking about other things.
I would have put a bet on actually the US asking you folks to do a proof of concept for a CBDC. Did you, or would you?
Well, we have a very big CBDC practice. It's now globally based. We actually, within the last couple of months, have put 4 people on the ground in Singapore alone focused on this.
Okay.
It's an important effort. It's an important suite of products. I think I really, related to this point exactly, is I think as an industry, we got to be careful about chasing every single new shiny thing. It tends to dilute business models. It tends to take people off course. And we determined that in addition to our payments business, CBDCs are a very important piece of what we're going to do.
Brooks' response is, we have this major CBDC initiative. He doesn't say no. He doesn't say yes. If you're asked something false, what is your knee-jerk response? My knee-jerk response is, no, that's not true. Brooks just spins the question with the overall initiative. He says as an industry, we shouldn't chase the next shiny thing. He was referring to CBDC as the next shiny thing. He was underlying the payments products that Ripple offers, the X-Current, on-demand liquidity, Interledger. A while back, Ashish Birla mentioned that they were running a proof of concept with the Fed. I don't think Ashish was lying, nor do I think this is outdated information. If it's true that they are working with the Fed in some capacity, I also had a video that showed Robert Bench from the Fed talking about Ripple, and the university asked me to take down the video or I'd face legal repercussions. If this is true and there's something going on with the Fed, Brooks' response seems appropriate. We don't have a CBDC with the Fed per se.
Which we have to face is what you just mentioned, Minister. I wrote in 2015 the book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, and I mentioned 23 or 24 technologies which will change the world, like crypto and so on and so on. The book was considered science fiction. All those technologies have become reality, and there are new technologies. And I would say we are in the second minute, or whatever we want to call. We are at the beginning. When you look at it, at technology transformation, it usually takes place in the terms of an S-curve. And we are just now where we move into the exponential phase.
At the World Government Summit, which is a summit for all governments to talk about the future, Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, is discussing the fourth industrial revolution. He talks about how he predicted a lot of these technologies, such as crypto assets. Klaus Schwab has the ear to many world leaders. He has dialogue with all world leaders. He's very much pro-crypto. Klaus is thinking we're just moving on to the exponential phase. The paradigm shift is just getting started, and we're headed towards mass adoption. I've created a speakeasy for crypto research. This is a free chat. It's a completely private social media. It's surveillance free. When you join Speakeasy, you own the speakeasy. And unlike centralized services where you rent your identity on their platform, with Speakeasy you own it. Your keys, it's yours. Nobody can spy on you or collect and harvest data. It's entirely private. And what's amazing about it is it's running on a decentralized protocol. Imagine something like this running on Bitcoin or Ethereum. All of your messages are mixed through CMix. To join, there's an invite in the description below. Copy and paste the invite into your browser and choose a name.
And I agree. Artificial intelligence, but not only artificial intelligence, but also the metaverse, near space technologies, and I could go on and on. Synthetic biology. Our life in 10 years from now will be completely different, very much affected, and who masters those technologies in some way will be the master of the world. Now, what does it mean for governments and for government officials? 4 things. First, since we speak about the transformation process, we have to be ambitious in our thinking. How do we want to come out at the end of this transformation process? And we have to see the opportunities, because
whoever masters these technologies will be the master of the world. Now, in context of the Cold War, China and the US, we are going to see competing networks of digital currencies and crypto assets. Whoever has the dominant network will master this new world. This transformation he describes as the Great Reset. Our systems are breaking down, and the World Economic Forum and governments are looking to use this breakdown as a transformation, as a positive for those that are in control to continue control.
You cannot catch up with the new technologies. You have to be a front runner, because otherwise you will be on the losing outside. Adaptability is the next factor. And adaptability requires permanent upskilling and reskilling. And the last factor I want to mention is resilience, the capability to bounce back, because there will be certainly what we call the black swans, the unpleasant surprises which will come in our way.
You have to front run the technologies. You have to get in front of these technologies and regulate them before they take a life of their own. You can't ban them, you have to harness them. This is the message he is urging governments all around the world to consider. Use surprise black swan events to take advantage.
Slightly different spin in it. You might say, why is it taking so long? But I am flabbergasted at why it's happening so quickly. And what I mean by this is that banking and retail sectors are the most slow-moving, unchanging sectors on earth. Partly because of their business model, but secondly because of their low appetite for risk. And just if they did something innovative, all they could do is lose clients. And so if you look at how long it took to commercialize the mouse, the computer mouse, it was a 25-year cycle. We're 15, 16 years in, and already we're seeing real commitment and adoption from both the retail and the banking sector. So where can you really take it forward? Where can you really improve upon it? Going back to your question about Sonata, we need to see a B2B blockchain emerge that isn't just focused on B2C application space, one that really understands regulatory concern. I think this was part of Ripple's mission statement, so we are related in that regard. You really need to understand the banks want to adopt crypto, but they have risk and regulation and responsibility that they have to honor and take very seriously.
Banks want to take advantage of cheaper, more effective methods through blockchain technology. However, they're constrained by law. While they're constrained, Ripple is setting them up to use technologies. This is happening much quicker than people realize. Banks move extremely slow, but with blockchain we have seen many large banks lean into the space. Eventually, when technology is proven safe and the banks can dive in, Ripple has tailored solutions for them that position XRP front and center.
Because it enabled all these convenient exchanges. So if somebody says, I'm going to create something that sort of replaces the national currency, it's like saying I'm going to replace the national air. You know, it's asinine. It isn't even slightly stupid. It's massively stupid. And of course, it's very dangerous. And of course, the governments were totally wrong to permit it. And of course, I'm not proud of my country for allowing this crap, what I call the crypto it's worthless, it's no good, it's crazy, it'll do nothing but harm, it's antisocial to allow it. And the guy who made the correct decision on this is the Chinese leader. The Chinese leader took one look at crypto and he says, not in my China. And boom, there isn't any crypto in China. He's right and we're wrong.
Traditional investors are laser focused on intrinsic value. If I buy a share in a company, how much revenue will that company earn and share with me? How many assets are on their balance sheet? ETH maxis will argue that high fees are the intrinsic value of the Ethereum protocol. You have to spend the fees, and that's value that comes back to ETH holders. Well, what about XRP and other chains that move value as quickly as information? Velocity is inflationary. If you look at a chart of velocity and inflation, they're correlated. When I go out and I spend dollars, that money circulates the economy. And as quickly as those dollars move around to person, that's the velocity. With XRP, you're able to move this value as quickly as an email. So if more value is moved on this network as quickly as an email, everything's tied back to XRP on the XRP ledger, and that's an inflationary dynamic. You become what you give your attention to. Thanks everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. I've created a new site called dmjr.ghost.io. This is a duplicate of my Patreon. Some really dislike Patreon, and I'm having some problems with them as well. So I'm duplicating my Patreon content to this site. This site uses Stripe instead of the Patreon payment service. The content is identical. If you want to support this channel, you can sign up to dmjr.ghost.io or Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thanks everyone.